Okay, so hey guys, and welcome back to another Axel 72 video. And in today's video, I'm going to be giving my prediction for the Mizuki Hiruta versus Naomy Cardenas fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like video if you do indeed like the video, and feel free to join the Patreon as well. It really does support the channel, and I do really appreciate it a lot. All the main members that are there so far, it's been really nice to see the support that I've had for it so far. And you can go and request any kind of combat sporting related content, and I will try my best to get it out there for you guys, and the link will be in the description. Thank you very much. And so yeah, let's get straight into this video. And so again, this is Mizuki Hiruta back on UFC Fight Pass for another defense of her WBO title, and yet again that is her now fifth defense of the WBO belt. And like I say, back on UFC Fight Pass 360 promotions, and I believe being yet again the co-main event of a Omar Trinidad fight, who of course himself is in with his own tough test against Lorenzo Para in the featherweight division. And of course, like I say, if you want to see me do a prediction video for that fight, if you're interested in it, of course you know what to do now. And so yeah, to speak more about this fight, obviously fifth defense now of her WBO belt. And I mean, I've been following Mizuki Hiruta's career pretty much from just before she got her first world title fight. And she was 4-0 when she had that world title fight. And so yeah, she's just been on a great run ever since, and she's been continuously defending it. She had, I believe, two defenses in Japan, and of course now she's on to her third fight in America. She's been branching out to America this year. She's also on her third fight of the year in America. And like I say, she's on that big stage of UFC Fight Pass. Perhaps, with UFC Fight Pass, everybody knows what's going on with Dana White and Sella and everything like that. So perhaps we could see a Hiruta easily be made a bigger star if everything that's happening with Sella and Dana White and UFC Fight Pass, and of course Callum Walsh fights on UFC Fight Pass as well. So maybe we could be seeing a Hiruta be built up, kind of, now fighting in the background, waiting for that big moment where Sella gets involved properly in boxing, more than just kind of that one big Canelo Crawford event. And then maybe, like I say, we might see something big happen with a career like a Hiruta or an Omar Trinidad. Of course, I might just be speculating, but of course herself, she's been on a dominant run, and she's definitely has that star potential. And that's something in which I've talked about in pretty much all of my prediction videos for her, is that she does have that star potential. I think she's got great skills. I'm not sure if she's being promoted enough just yet. I think there is definitely a big Japanese audience that would be a fan of her, and of course there is a big Japanese audience that enjoy watching boxing. That's been showcased through the male Japanese events in the lower weight divisions. And so, like I said, there's definitely a possibility for something like Hiruta to be picked up and to be actually elevated in her career and pushed. Would that be through MVP? Would that be through a possibility of a seller? I'm not entirely sure, but nonetheless, like I say, she definitely has that star potential. She's kind of seen as like the fighter who can have all these cool kind of styles and dresses, and the way that she goes to the ring with all these different outfits, and it's just interesting, it's cool. And then then she can be in an absolute war at times, and that can really be, like I said, the opposite of what she's kind of known for, but it would also, like I say, add to the entertainment of her as well. So again, like I say, she is on just a great run, and last time out she fought a tough Argentinian, and she basically just made it easy work. The Argentinian wanted to get up in close and wanted to have a kind of war with her and things like that, but throughout the entirety of the fight, Hiruta was able to nullify that. And that's what I wanted to see, because previously she did get drawn into a war with an opponent who really wasn't at her level and shouldn't realistically have even been fighting for a world title, in my opinion. But like I say, the fight was perhaps a little bit closer before, because she got dragged into a bit of a war, and then she got cut with a head clash and things like that, and then things just got a bit messy. And again, I just didn't think that was necessary. I think she definitely, I was thinking to myself, she definitely has the ability to be able to box and move, and to be able to, put on a disciplined performance, which is just nice on the eye to watch. And again, like I said, I think she did that last time out, and that was really impressive and showcased an improving, more disciplined performance last time out. Cardenas, though, of course, is, in my opinion, going to be the toughest test of Hiruta's career. She is an undefeated Mexican who is on her first fight outside of Mexico, bar one, and that one fight was a close split decision, which, as the away fighter against fellow undefeated Bree Howling on an MVP show, she was able to win. And, that was a real statement victory for her, and that has elevated her, of course, now into a world title shot. And I feel like it's definitely deserving for her to have this world title opportunity. Like I say, unlike certain fighters in which Hiruta's been given for title defenses, I think Cardenas is definitely worthy. Like I say, coming off that big win against Bree Howling, which was, it was a big surprise victory. And, yes, this is a quick 2 month turnaround to be back after, of course, that Bree Howling fight, and dropping down in weight for the first for this fight, and also this one being her first 10 rounder. I think that will perhaps play a bit of a factor. I don't think her cardio is not made for a 10 round fight. I think she'll probably be fine doing that. But her coming down in weight, I think, might be a sign of, just because she fought 2 months ago, she's still in fighting shape, and maybe she knew that this opportunity could be in the background, or maybe she got the call quite early on, so she didn't really have time to kind of lose that weight in which she was already at and things like that. So she seemed comfortable and happy enough to just go down in weight division again. But I believe this is her first fight out of bantamweight, and it's going to come with another test. But again, it might help her cardio and her output even more. She might be even more of a scary kind of typical Mexican than she was against Bree Howling, because like I said, I do believe she does have that typical Mexican type style. To speak more about the fighters individually as fighters, Hiruta, she feints well, she's a reactive fighter, and she makes you question. She was really able to do that last time out, and again, she might be able to cause problems to Cardenas just by, like I say, making her question her work, which I'm sure Cardenas has never had to deal with before. She's got fast hands, she's got good head movement, got an in and out type style with high level footwork. She's very much light on her feet, and she is typically a mid-range type of fighter. I wouldn't exactly say she is, when she boxed in her last fight, maybe it wasn't the most entertaining of performances, where Cardenas' fight probably was more entertaining on the kind of more casuals, look of things. But I believe, like I say, it's just such solid, strong fundamentals that it's just really nice to see. She's got a distracting jab, which she kind of floats out there, and she doesn't really use it to measure. I think she does use it to set with her feints, and like I say, to distract you a little bit. She grows into the fight offensively well, and like I say, when she doesn't get dragged into a war, grows into that fight very well. She's got good straight shots, and she definitely does counter well. She's, of course, seemingly ready there to pounce, like I say, light on her feet. She's good at keeping you where she wants you, even though she's not the most physical. She's able to, like I say, make you question yourself and keep you where she wants you to be. She's well disciplined, like I say, and I do believe that she is improving with every contest. The negatives about her, of course, she has been dragged into a war in the past. Was this just a performance in which the opponent didn't do enough to drag her into a war? Maybe that's why, she was allowed to box like that. Will Cardenas not have any success at all? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, I doubt she won't have any success at all. So there might have to be times where Hiruta might have to, plant her feet a little bit more and trade a bit more. She, like I say, and that's when she does kind of later on lose her technique a bit. She doesn't always find the range the best early on. So again, a little bit of a slow starter, where Cardenas is kind of the opposite of that. She doesn't really land the most powerful punches, and again, if she's fighting how she fought the last fight, it wasn't the most powerful, and she doesn't always fully commit. Physicality isn't, like I said, the best, but it's not necessarily needed, and she can wait a little bit too long or be a little bit too defensive at times. Little critiques here. She doesn't always capitalize off her pivots and the angles that she makes. I think she could definitely capitalize off them better. She can have a chin in the air a little bit, and she does have a weak guard, and she doesn't really follow the best off her 1-2. So again, her actual combination variety of punches is limited in my opinion. Cardenas more so as a fighter. She is a come forward fighter who punches all over, and she's a fast starter, high tempo fighter who catch and throw type style, and more often than not she's able to throw more back than what she caught basically, and inevitably, like I say, that is a traditional typical Mexican type style. She wants to smother you, make you work, fight her fight, overwhelm you. She's also at the same time not got awful head movement either. It's not clumsy, it's not lazy, and again, that's a nice asset to have, which not all Mexican fighters do have. She seems to carry a decent level of power and does have a physical presence. When you're going off just pure body types alone, it seems like she is the more physical fighter, like I say, with that bit more power. She's got a good chin, and that kind of has to be the case when she is fighting the way that she is fighting, and she is good at not allowing you to have that space. And if she can stop Hiruta from having that space, then it could be a tough fight for Hiruta to deal with. Like I say, I do believe this is her toughest test so far, Hiruta. Negatives about her, I think she gets caught coming in. I think she squares up. She's definitely there to be hit on the inside, and she does take a lot of hits. Even in her last fight, she was still taking quite a lot of punishment. She's got a lack of a jab or realistically set up in general, and can just kind of walk in close instead of actually trying to, like I say, use that head movement to try and get in, or trying to disguise something, or even being that explosive to get in. She can be quite flat-footed, and I think fighting at a range isn't where she's at her best, and she's not really had to deal with that much. I think taking a back step, she is willing to do that, but inevitably doesn't circle off the ropes the best. She can be made to just sit on the ropes, and again, if she's getting questioned, if she's starting to question herself or get frustrated, she might end up getting backed up by Hiruta. We'll have to wait and see. And she can have moments of tiredness in which I think Hiruta might be able to pounce upon their moments, again, all depending on the game plan in which both fighters deploy. Who I think is going to win? I think that Mizuki Hiruta is going to be able to win via majority decision. I think it's going to be a close, well-contested contest where Cardenas might be able to win a few couple early rounds, or, again, it will be a really interesting contest because, in my opinion, it can be a clash of styles. If Hiruta gets drawn into a fight, I still think she can win if it's a war, but she's going to have to really use her fast hands to be able to have success. If she just fully forgets her movement, then I think she will just struggle a lot more in this contest. If she can fight disciplined, fight to a game plan, then I think she can win, and she can avoid Cardenas for the majority of the fight, but it will be difficult, and I think she will inevitably have to take a few big shots, in which I'm sure she won't want to be taking from Cardenas, but I do believe inevitably she will be, I think she is the highest skill fighter by far. It's just if she'll utilise them skills, and again, like I say, if she is improving the way in which I think she's going, I think she will win this via a close decision. Then who she goes on to fight next, I think the super flyweight division isn't in the best of positions at the moment. There's quite a few fighters that are a bit null and void without too much realistically going on. We got Ginny Fuchs, who fought Adelaide Ruiz on a Matchroom show, and then since then hasn't had any fight, and that was back in 2024, so I'm not entirely sure what's actually happening with her. Again, it could be an injury, it could be some other things going on in her life, but she was a top name. Artiga versus Sandstrom is kind of the big fight that's happening for the WBA belt. That was announced by MVP, so perhaps the winner of that could fight Hiruta, maybe again if MVP wants to get involved. If not, Irma Garcia, of course, is IBF champion. She's not really been fighting that regularly or really doing that much, so I think it's about time in which somebody gets involved to give Garcia the payday enough so for her to be able to, let up the control of that IBF belt and give it to somebody who, or at least contest for it against somebody who deserves it that bit more. And so hopefully that will be what will happen next. I do believe that Hiruta is deserving of a unification fight in the near future. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like the video if you did, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.